Thank you, sir. Senator Durbin, Senator Kyle, allow me to thank you for the invitation and opportunity to be with you to offer testimony today. As Archbishop Emeritus of Washington, I'm here today representing the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. I'll summarize my remarks and ask, and you graciously accepted, that my full testimony be entered into the record. My written testimony places the treatment of American Muslims in the broader context of religious liberty from the perspective of our rich American tradition and of our Catholic tradition and experience. As a community that has been the target of religious discrimination, even as was mentioned earlier, we understand the need today to bring it to protecting the civil rights of our Muslim brothers and sisters. We see religious freedom as an essential foundation for our life together in our own nation and across the globe. Over time, we've made much progress together, but we fear this shared foundation is being weakened and undermined by religious prejudice, unwise policies, and polarizing words and tactics which divide us. Most appallingly, religious freedom is destroyed by attacks on people in some countries because of their religion and by the terrible misuse of religion to incite hatred and even justify violence. Sadly, this fundamental betrayal of religious belief, attacking those of different religious perspectives in the name of religion, can sometimes be used to promote suspicion and fear of all people associated with a particular religious tradition. This kind of generalized religious prejudice is wrong and unjust, and a clear violation of religious freedom. A justified concern for security and the appropriate pursuit of those who pervert religion to attack others cannot be allowed to turn into a new form of religious discrimination and intolerance. This is why we stand with our Muslim brothers and sisters in defense of their dignity and rights, just as we welcome and expect their reciprocity and solidarity with us when the rights of Christians and other religious groups are violated around the world. In our pluralistic society, religious values and commitments are assets for the common good, not sources of division and conflict. Today, we note with particular sadness that Muslim Americans, with whom we have had a positive dialogue for over the decades, have had their loyalty and beliefs questioned publicly in sweeping and uninformed ways. This compels us to reach out in solidarity in support of their dignity and rights as Americans and believers. We worry about the rhetoric and actions that target our Muslim neighbors and friends. Like our own historical experience, their very loyalty as Americans, traditions and values are being threatened. We remain firmly committed to the defense of religious liberty for all, not just for Catholics, because our commitment is to the dignity of each and every human person. At the same time, we recognize that not every charge of wrongdoing against people or groups within a religious community amounts to religious discrimination, bias, or bigotry. Religious beliefs are no excuse for threatening others or carrying out acts of violence. At this particular moment in our nation's history, we face a real threat to our national security from one kind of terrorism that has its origins in a particular form of extremist ideology which holds itself out falsely as authentic Islam. The legitimate concern for the public order, however, must be pursued with effectiveness, skill, and respect for religious liberty. In particular, we need to avoid generalizing about any religion, especially about Islam, based solely on the extreme views and conduct of a small group of radical extremists. Those unfounded generalizations and efforts to fan the flames of fear are wrong and unjustified, but are especially inappropriate and hurtful when expressed by leaders in public life. These attacks are a grave injustice against the vast majority of Muslims in the United States who are loyal and productive members of our American society. For the Catholic bishops, religious freedom and its absence have many expressions. Our own history as an immigrant people and a religious minority has its own stories of suspicion, discrimination, and intolerance, and unfortunately, these are not merely a thing of the past. When the very right of conscience is sometimes attacked, the ability to exercise religious beliefs is subverted. There are well-known contemporary examples where the state would force religious groups and individuals to choose between following their religious beliefs and practices and following the dictates of law. Where is the respect for religious freedom, we ask, in compelling a religious entity to perform an act which contradicts its basic moral principles? Who ultimately suffers by undermining the rights of conscience for religious groups and individuals? It is not merely the integrity of the principle of religious freedom, but also the people whom we serve and employ. As pastors within a universal church, we Catholic bishops hear the cries and share the pain of believers around the world who suffer persecution, violence, and discrimination simply because of their religious identity. In the last year alone, we've seen dramatic examples of the persecution of Catholic and other Christian communities around the globe. An example that strikes us is this March, Shahbaz Bhatti, the Pakistani Minister of Minority Affairs, was assassinated at the hands of Muslim extremists. Mr. Bhatti was a Roman Catholic who had advocated for tolerance and religious freedom for all religious minorities in Pakistan. For this courageous witness, he was brutally murdered. We appreciate the many sincere expressions of sympathy and condemnation that have come from our religious partners, our dialogue partners in the Muslim community, especially the Islamic Society of North America, the Islamic Circle of North America. They have stood with us as trusted allies in speaking out against violence and in defense of religious freedom. Solidarity among people of every religion in the face of attacks on people of any one religion is respect for religious freedom in action. Concluding, as a religious community, our Catholic faith commits us to defend and promote the right to religious freedom for all as a moral priority and a human responsibility. This common commitment to religious freedom is at the heart of American life. It is also an example to a world where too many doubt that people of different religions can live together in peace and mutual respect. As other countries wrestle with how to treat religious minorities, let them look to our nation, where we work to ensure that our Muslim sisters and brothers are treated with dignity and that their religious identity and beliefs must be treated with respect. Let them here see a people blessed with hard-won religious freedom, living out our commitment to the rights of all by demonstrating full respect for the identity, integrity, and freedom of all religions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cardinal. And